Single dad Ethan opened the door for his blind date, Chloe. But the evening's expectations shattered when she leaned in and whispered the 5 fearful words he never expected to hear. "My kids are in the car." That whisper, packed with fear and the expectation of rejection, changed everything. Would he shut the door on her past or welcome a new, complicated future? Ethan had rehearsed this evening in his mind 100 times, standing in front of the mirror, fixing the collar of his shirt. He felt like a teenager again. It had been years since he'd been on a date, and truthfully, he wasn't sure if he still remembered how to be a man. Outside of being a father, life as a single dad had a way of swallowing every ounce of your identity. You weren't just Ethan anymore. You were Ruby's dad or Sam's dad. You woke up early, packed lunches, ironed uniforms checked, homework, and collapsed at night with the television flickering in the background, knowing tomorrow would be the same. When his wife passed away, suddenly 5 years ago, Ethan had built walls around his heart. He told himself that love was something he no longer needed, something too fragile to risk. His entire world became his children, Ruby with her curious questions and budding kindness, and Sam, who still liked to fall asleep, clutching his hand. They were his reason to keep going. And yet, when his best friend nudged him to try dating again, something inside him whispered, maybe, just maybe it was time. And so here he was standing by the door in San Francisco, palms sweaty, waiting for Chloe, the woman he had been talking to for weeks. She seemed different, not superficial, not self-centered, not someone who asked if he had time to escape his kids. Their conversations had been filled with warmth, laughter, and quiet confessions. And now, finally, she was here. The doorbell rang. Ethan took a breath and opened it. Chloe stood there, her presence gentle and almost fragile. She wasn't dressed like she had come from some glamorous magazine cover. She wore a soft cream-colored dress, a knitted cardigan draped around her shoulders. Her brown hair was tied loosely, strands falling across her face. Her eyes, though, carried something deeper, something Ethan recognized instantly. A tiredness born of responsibility, and yet a fire that refused to be extinguished. Before he could speak, she leaned closer and whispered with hesitation, "My kids are in the car." Ethan froze, not out of fear but recognition. He knew that whisper. It was the sound of someone who had been judged too many times. The sound of someone expecting rejection before it even came. Chloe's eyes lowered as though she was already preparing to turn back, to drive away and explain to her children why tonight wasn't going to work. But Ethan didn't hesitate. He smiled softly and said, "Then what are we doing? Standing here? Bring them in. No child should wait outside." Chloe's lips parted in surprise. For a second, she didn't move, as if she needed to be sure he really meant it. Then she nodded quickly, her eyes misty, and hurried back to her car. 2 little figures emerged. A boy, Lucas, around 9 years old, holding himself, stiff and cautious, and a younger girl, Lily, clutching her mother's hand, tightly, hiding behind her leg. They looked nervous, their eyes darting around as though stepping into someone else's world was dangerous. Ethan bent slightly, giving them a kind smile. "Hey, there, I'm Ethan, and you two must be the special guest tonight." The boy blinked, then managed a small, awkward grin. The little girl peeked out from behind Chloe and whispered, "Hi." At that moment, Ruby, who is 7, ran up, her hair tied in a messy ponytail, curiosity all over her face. "Are those your kids?" she asked Chloe. When Chloe nodded, Ruby grinned. "Cool. Come on, we got games inside." Sam who is 5, toddled up right after, her tugging at Ethan's sleeve. "Can they play with us, Daddy?" "Of course," Ethan said warmly, ruffling his son's hair. And just like that, the evening shifted. What had been meant to be a simple dinner between two adults became a gathering filled with laughter and chatter. Ethan ordered pizza because, in his experience, kids and pizza were the safest combination. Soon, the dining table was alive with voices, the children talking over each other, crayons rolling. Across the floor, Chloe's shy laughter, mixing with Ethan's deep chuckles. Chloe kept watching Ethan in disbelief. He wasn't impatient when her daughter spilled juice on the table. He wasn't distant with her son when he asked about superheroes. He didn't treat her children as an interruption. He treated them like they belonged. Later, when the children were curled up under blankets in the living room, watching a movie together like they had been friends forever, Chloe finally spoke. Quietly. "You didn't even pause," she said. "You didn't look surprised. You didn't hesitate." Ethan looked at her for a long moment, his expression tender. "Why would I know what it's like to be the parent who carries it all. I know the look in your eyes, always wondering if you're doing enough, always fighting the loneliness. When the kids are asleep, if someone can't accept your children, Chloe, they don't deserve you. And if they can't love them, they'll never really love you either." Chloe's throat tightened and she whispered, "No one's ever said that to me before." Ethan reached out his hand, brushing hers gently. "Then maybe you've been talking to the wrong people." That night didn't end in romance, not the kind of movie show. There was no dramatic kiss or sudden declaration of love. Instead, it ended with children asleep on the couch, two parents quietly cleaning up the kitchen side by side, sharing soft smiles and unspoken gratitude. In the weeks that followed, their lives began to overlap naturally. Chloe's kids would come over after school, and Ruby and Sam would beg for sleepovers. Pancake breakfast became a tradition. Kids laughing, sticky fingers, flour on the counter, and two adults stealing glances at each other, their hearts warming with every shared morning. Ethan learned that Chloe had been raising her children alone for years after her husband walked out. She had worked 2 jobs at one point just to keep food on the table. She had cried herself to sleep countless nights, exhausted but determined never to let her children feel unloved. Her strength amazed him, and Chloe learned Ethan's story too. The sudden loss of his wife, the nights he sat alone holding his son, who asked, "When will mommy come back?" The guilt, the heartbreak, and the determination to smile through it all for his children's sake. One evening, as they all sat in the backyard watching the children play, Ethan turned to her and said softly, "I used to think love ended when she died, that I had my one chance and it was gone. But then I met you and I realized love doesn't end. Sometimes it just finds its way back to us differently." Chloe's eyes welled up, and for the first time in years, she let herself believe she wasn't destined to walk alone forever. Their love didn't rush. It grew slowly, like sunlight breaking through clouds. After a long storm, it grew in shared bedtime stories and hands brushing as they passed plates at the dinner table. In the way her kids called him Mr. Ethan, with a fondness that already hinted at something more. And one night, as the children fell asleep in a pile of blankets after building a fort, Chloe whispered, "Do you think we could really make this work?" Ethan looked at her, his voice steady, filled with quiet conviction. "Chloe, it already works. Look at them. Look at us. This is what family looks like." And for the first time in a long time, both of them felt whole. Again, Do you believe love can find a way even when you have kids and heavy pasts? Tell us your thoughts below. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe for more inspiring stories of second chances.